80 episodes. You know what? That's some achievement, mate. Well done.
Thank you, man. You
You should be
too.
proud of
You too.
yourself.
It's so weird because time's gone so fast. Like we've been making these, and then you look at the number and you go, really? Like,
I feel
fair,
like we need to do
fair
something
play.
for the 100.
Oh, of course we do. Like, it's one thing to get to 50, but getting to 100, it's like
Yeah. So
actual milestone,
anyone
like proper.
listening, please drop us a DM or a message to let us know some ideas. If you've got any ideas for 100 episodes and how we should celebrate, please be sure to let us know. Maybe
Yeah.
we should do like a little giveaway, maybe, or something as
Ooh.
well.
Ooh,
We'll see.
maybe,
Let's
maybe.
see.
Yeah.
But how are you, man? You good?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm good. I was just talking to you a minute ago about how, well, I started. What am I saying? Let me start again. I was just talking to you a minute ago about how I recently started watching T-Pain's YouTube streams. Do you know
What?
T-Pain the rapper?
I know T Pain. Of course, I know
Yeah.
T
Well,
Pain. I
anyway,
grew up
over
in
the
the
years,
'90s.
yeah, exactly, yeah, in the
Yeah,
2000s,
yeah.
um, and he started doing like Twitch live streams and video games and stuff like that. So he actually doesn't really he makes music, but like it's not his main money earner. And
Really?
yeah, and he makes music live, like on the stream, and it's so fascinating.
Really?
It's like watching someone edit photos or edit videos. But what's really inspiring is, and now what I've started doing is I've started having like their YouTube videos on of like people just making stuff. Like I've been watching Tory Lanez like live in the studio, like making his music, T Pain and stuff, and they go through the exact same creative process that the rest of us do. Where T Pain will be like, okay, I'm supposed to be featured on this track, so like where they have like I think it's 2/3 of the way through the song where the featured artist has like a verse. So T Pain will be like, right, I'm gonna make this verse, and he just locks in for 25 minutes, and you see this creative process where he's like, and then he's like trying to get like, and then he goes back, and then he puts the lyrics, and he doesn't know what to say, so then he goes back again, and he just keeps building and building and building
Brick
until he
by
gets
brick,
this thing.
piece by
Yeah.
piece.
And it's so fascinating and so motivating.
Hmm.
And I'll send you a link to it after this. But you just can't believe that we're living in such an interesting time where you can see Grammy award winning music artists and you actually see their process of how they do things. Like imagine just being able to log on and watch the full session of how this photographer edits their photos and they're like award winning. Like usually you don't see any of this stuff, but T Pain is just now one of those Twitch people where he's obviously super celebrity, but he's also with the times. Like he's with live streaming and he's with hanging out with other video game Twitch streamers, and
There might be something
so
in that, you know,
interesting.
just like setting up a bit of a live stream and and like people can see your screen and they're just watching you edit.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. But it's so like a bunch of like gold, like just gold mine of like information in there, and it made me go, do I want to learn Pro Tools on how to make music? But it's just fascinating. You can see him say something, and then he's like, "No, that's not right," and he's like, sort of leaning back, and he's miming the words, and he's like, "Dun, dun, dun," and he's like, "Right," and he like leans back, and he's like, "Let's go again," and he tries singing again, and you're like, "Mate, this is." You know that thing that every creative does where you hit your head against the wall to come up with like an idea or whatever, and you're like, why isn't it working? And then you watch someone like T Pain go through exactly the same thing, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
this is so interesting. And then again, Tory Lanez is very interesting because he did a live stream from the studio and he has a Discord where people send music in, like producers send beats in, and if he likes the beat, he'll okay, nice one, man. Like this is a sick beat. I'm gonna put it in the studio, and we'll go in there and I'll just try and like do a rap over it or I'll sing over it or something, and it makes this absolute banger of a song. And it took him like 7 minutes, and you think T Pain made this feature in like 28 minutes. Tory Lanez is making like this song in 7 minutes in the studio over this fan's beat that just got sent in, and you're just like, damn, like,
It's just experience for you though. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
when
but
you
you can
get a
see the
five
talent
minute
though.
yeah, when you
Hmm.
get a 5 minute opportunity for a photo and you get like 20 shots in in like that few minutes that you've got, and then you go in and then you edit it, and it's
Hmm.
like that whole process. It takes you 5 minutes to shoot it, 10 minutes to put an edit together on one of the photos, and you've got this final product that
Yeah,
it happens at such a fast speed because of the experience and like skill that you've got.
yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of like, you know, when people are like, we go back before on why you shouldn't charge hourly. Well, you know, you hire you for a photo project or a video project, you pay the fee, but the fee is based on your experience and what you're worth. And
Yeah,
it might take you 30 minutes to do the job, but if this person that's doing it has got 20 years experience and they can get an insane photo done in, then do you know what I
yeah,
mean? So time is like, it just shows, and that's like a, you know, a real life example of it, that you can make a sick song in 30 minutes, sick to you anyway, like to other people. And, you know, but it's 20 years of experience and skill and knowing the
yeah,
software and all that kind of stuff to get you there. So,
yeah, definitely. And but I think what hits as well is that because you're watching this stream and you can see the comments on the stream as it's live, you can see how much they appreciate it, and so you appreciate it more as well. And so I think the comments were something like, "Wow, you make music the same exact way I make music with my boys, like just in my shitty
yeah.
small room trying to make music on my laptop." Like, and it's like, yeah, like if you look at it, everyone, there's no like fancy way of doing all this stuff. Like everyone pretty much makes music on their laptop, and the studio is just like I don't know, like it's necessary. It's not necessary, but it's just like every now and again you'd be in there. It's like, wow, that's so interesting.
Well, it goes to show that you can
Yeah,
still, the process is still the same. Like we'll create our art with our cameras, right? Whether that's a £10,000 camera or a £500 camera, we
yeah,
all just like create. And whether that's a £10,000 studio setup or a £500 studio setup, we all go through the same creative process, no matter who you are. I think that's
yeah.
like important to remember. And actually, it brings us in really nicely actually to kind of what I wanted to touch on. So you see me post that reel the other week where I decided to take my first ever camera on holiday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And this was a kind of a really interesting experiment. For ages I've been wanting to like create a reel or some content around picking up my first ever camera and going out and shooting something with it and just seeing if it stood the test of time. Is it any good? Can I get some decent shots with it? And I thought, you know what? I I literally haven't. It's collecting dust. I haven't used it in 7 years. Like it's. I had to buy a
Yeah.
new charger for it, so I had to
seven
buy a
years of
charger.
7 years of technology advancement is like an eternity. So this
Well,
camera is probably like,
I haven't used it in 7 years because that was when I bought it, or 8 years ago.
mm,
But it came out in 2013. So
wow. So it's 11 to 12 years old.
it's 12
Mm.
years old. Yeah. So which is obviously like wild in terms of technology advancement, really. But I had to buy a new charger for it because obviously I didn't know where that was, and luckily it had a battery in it, so charged up the battery and yeah, took it on holiday with me. And you know what? It's one of the most refreshing things that I've ever done with a camera. Like
Wow. Okay.
fully really enjoyed it. And so I used and we had this conversation. I was like, what lens do I take? What lens do I take? And you were like, just take the stock lens, because I had the option of putting my Sigma 16 to 35 art lens on it, but then it's not a true representation of the first camera that I bought. Do you know what I mean? So took the stock lens on it, which is an 18 to 55. I think it's like 3.5 to 5.6 aperture or something like that.
Yeah.
Super cheap stock lens. You could probably buy one for 20 quid. And I think the camera's probably worth less than 100 quid.
Mm.
And it was, mate, it was like going back through a time machine. I turned this thing on and I'm trying to figure out like, see, the menu's all old and different, and I'm trying to figure out how to change the autofocus on it. And there's obviously there's no facial recognition. It's only got like 8 focus points, and it's like really just, it's obviously not old because film cameras are old, but it was like walking down memory lane. And when I first picked up a camera, and it just really stripped everything back to basics. And I didn't have a super high resolution lens, or I think it's 18 megapixels, so it's not like it's
Mm. Did
awful.
it did it make you remember using this camera and you thinking, wow, I remember this being so complicated when I think back to when you was using it originally, and now obviously because you've got so much experience, you can just use it with your eyes closed, probably. You know
Well,
what I
it
mean?
took me a hot minute to kind of like figure out how to use it again, right?
Uh,
Because changing the aperture is different, changing the ISO and the shutter speed and stuff, and the menu's all old, and it was just like finding my way back around it. And obviously, it's a Canon, and I'm a Sony user, so even just like getting used to that again. But once I got the hang
Oh,
of it,
yeah.
once I got the
Yeah.
hang of it again, like yeah, obviously it's no matter what camera you pick up, you're always just gonna work with your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed, right? And obviously your focus and how you decide what focus you use. But there's no facial detection, there's no continuous, like it's just nothing. So
Hmm.
um, it's a very stripped back and raw version. It made me slow down and think way more about the composition and the frame and creating a nice frame compared to just relying on the technology for a nice shot, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
relying on the lens for a cool shot, instead being like, right, I've got 18 to 55 mil. What's going on around me? What can I see that would frame that? What's creating a story? And it really forced me to think about that stuff way more.
It's interesting because you immediately go back to the fundamentals of like an
Yeah,
image instead of it being
exactly.
about the tech.
Yeah.
And I also saw the images on your reel. So we'll probably, if you've still got the images, I'd love to throw them up on screen whilst we're talking
Mm,
about this.
yeah.
But yeah, there's some really, really good ones in there.
Thank you,
And
man.
yeah, like it's unbelievable that you are using like a camera that it just proves that the tool doesn't necessarily matter.
Well, that's what I wanted to get
Um,
onto because I had quite a
yeah.
few people comment on it, and the challenge was, can I take it on holiday and still get some shots that I'm happy with? And I wasn't sure when I was out there that I was getting shots that I was happy with.
Mm.
But when I got back and I plugged them in and started to edit them, and also it was interesting editing like old Canon files in Capture One when I'm
Yeah.
used to these high res Sony files. But I actually got on with them like fine, and it was good. And I started editing, and once I got through my edits, I sent like 30 of them because I think there was 30 I was happy with overall. I didn't take too many photos, to be fair, but I sent them all to Yaz, and she was like, "Oh damn." She was like, I think she was expecting them to be obviously not shit, but like she was expecting them to be like very average because of what I'd said about the camera. And she was like, "These are
It's just
actually
like
really good."
it's like wow, Matt, you are actually really good at taking photos.
But it wasn't. She did because I said that to her. I made that joke. She was like, "Well, what do you mean? Weren't you expecting them to be half decent?" But it was more. She was like, "I expected them to just not look as good because of what you said
Mm.
about the camera." Um, But it just goes to show that, you can use an old camera and get some old tech, and it's more what you do with it in post and how you frame the shot and how you tell a story that is actually what matters. So yeah, it was super refreshing, and it's actually made me want to shoot a campaign with my first camera, whether it's some kind of, probably not commercial work, obviously, because it's just not high res enough. I've noticed when I was cropping in on some of the stuff, or if I wanted to have it printed, it's just a bit
Yeah.
like you wouldn't be able to print it any bigger than like an A4 or A3 piece.
Yeah.
But even cropping in on stuff, like the resolution's just not there. But for an image for a phone and for an Instagram reel and post, it's like absolutely fine. But um, yeah, it was really refreshing, and it was like a really good reminder. And like I say, it makes me want to pick it up more, if anything, which I never thought I'd say. But it just goes to show that you can. It pushes you. It pushes you to try and get more out of your camera. So maybe next time I go out and go somewhere, I'll pick that up and see how far I can push it and how creative I can get with it. So definitely
Yeah.
recommend it to anyone listening that, like, if you've got your old camera, you've got your first camera, go dust it off, use it, use it. Obviously, it doesn't have to be on a commercial piece of work or a paid job, but say you're just going to the park at the weekend with your partner or whatever it is. It was just really, it was really fun. It was just really fun.
It makes me look at the YouTubers, and obviously on YouTube, a lot of it is, oh, this new camera's out, and this is what the features is, and oh, I've just upgraded and all this, and it's nice to think that maybe it is good to go back to like not worrying about the tech as much and like basically just the fundamentals of what actually doing photography is.
Well,
Especially nowadays, you know.
someone commented on the reel, and they were like,
Mm.
oh, "It's so refreshing to see." They said something along the lines of, "It's really refreshing to see this because you feel like you can get caught up in that, like you need the latest kit or you need the latest
Mm.
like cameras." And I kind of replied, and I was like, "Yeah, especially with the world of YouTube now, and new cameras come out all the time, and every photography YouTuber or whatever is reviewing them, and all you're seeing is videos of the latest Sony and the latest Canon and
Well, again, it's
their
like the
opinions on
FX2
it.
came out, and they have embargoes where like suddenly all the reviews of the FX2 come out all at the same time, and YouTube is just like
Yeah.
what's the
But
word?
so
It's like just
when it's
yeah.
inundated with those things, you're then like, you feel like the pressure. Oh, like I need the latest kit. I need the latest
Mm.
kit. But and I said in the comment, like, I'm happy with upgrading every 5 years. Like
Yeah,
that does me absolutely fine.
yeah. A bit like
Um,
your laptop or something where you
yeah,
have it for quite a while, don't you? Really, before you do anything
yeah.
significant.
So yeah, I highly recommend doing it, and it was super refreshing. And yeah,
Mm.
I was pleased with the images I got out of it, far more than I thought I was going to be. So
Okay.
I'll take
Well,
it.
if you was, would you shoot sports stuff with it, or would you try and capture portraits if you was to do your own campaign or whatever? Because I feel
So
like sports might not be the best to capture because
well,
it
I'd
might
love to
not
have a
be
go at
fast
it.
enough.
I'd love to
Yeah.
challenge myself. Do you know what I mean? Because
Mm.
so at the hotel we were staying at, there's Rafa Nadal's tennis academy. So there was tennis going on, and I really,
Okay.
but every time we walked past, like no one was playing, and Yaz was like, "You can't really be taking photos of these like young people like playing," and which is obviously
Yeah.
super fair. But I was like, I would love to have a go at shooting some kind of sports thing with this camera just to see what I can get out of it, just to see how good. Because there's that feeling of like you come up with this killer image, and it's like, yeah, I shot it on this like £100 setup, and you just think like, my commercial job and my commercial setup is like what, like a 4 or 5 grand camera setup. And yes, the autofocus never misses. And yes, it makes life easier when you're working with a Premier League footballer and you've only got a 5 minute window to get the shot of them moving with the ball and doing it around the world and holding the boots. And you need to have autofocus that works for you and hits the nail on the
Mm.
head every time because time is of the essence. But I would also love to see like what I could get out of it with something as simple as that, and just be like, yeah, I can actually get a shot with something that I think it's just reassuring to yourself, and it's a bit of a confidence booster that you know what, I can actually get some amazing shots, and it's not all the camera. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I also think that the further you go in your career, you end up buying the camera or buying the kit to improve something that isn't even skill based. It's like the speed or like, oh, so I can do this shoot without having to worry about this thing. Like it's not really doing anything for your skills unless you're suddenly going from shooting like JPEG to shooting RAW or something because one camera couldn't do RAW or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, it is interesting because then you go back to that and you can make it work on an older camera if needed. Like if you was doing a professional shoot, you would probably be able to live without most of the features and just make it work if you needed to.
Yeah.
Um,
If I really needed to. Like I
yes.
have my Sony A7R II as a backup body on set with me, just in
Mm.
case like my main body goes down, and it's still a 42 megapixel camera. Like it's still full frame, and I know that if it came to it and I was shooting some portraits, I could still do a job with it and it would look fine. And it's a
Yeah.
really old camera, so do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
It's one of those things. It's like yes, the autofocus isn't as good and it might slow down my process a bit, but I know I could still get what I want out of it eventually if I've got the time. What's it like in? I suppose it's a little different in the video world.
Oh yeah, video usually the main things are low light, quality like resolution like 4K and also slow motion and rolling shutter. And I think they're usually just off the top of my head the top four. And as well as like color profile, but most cameras have good color profiles now. Like most do like 10-bit 422, S-Log3. Um, yeah, like think because obviously again like we spoke about in the last episode about me getting the Sony A7C2
Mm.
soon, and I'm not gonna have like a bunch of extra shit on that camera. It's just gonna be the camera itself, and that's it. And the autofocus is gonna be good, but it's not gonna be life changing compared to any other cameras. So, um, yeah, I think we're at like a terminal velocity of technology at the moment where
Well, you were telling
you know
me that the you can get a red Komodo now for like 3 grand.
yeah, well, I think again off the top of my head, the original Red Komodo I think was 6K, and it's been brought down to 3 grand. And they brought out the Red Komodo X, which is $6,000 now, and that has improved some of the stuff that the original Red Komodo had problems with, like file sizes, and I think it was writing to like certain red SD cards, and now it doesn't. It can just write to regular ones. I don't know. I don't really know enough off the top of my head, but yeah, there's just things that doesn't really make a difference. If I'm honest, in terms, it's more on-set differences. Like it's not a difference to
It's
your
an
skill.
efficiency difference, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
exactly.
job efficiency difference.
And that's where most of your money goes professionally.
Yeah.
Is like I'm trying to think, what do I do in terms of like for example, there's ways of capturing audio, but you could just also record audio separately on a separate recorder. Like you don't need to have it going into the camera. You know, you could have a sound guard. There's just different ways of capturing the same stuff. ND filters. It just depends. Like you can have a smaller camera like an FX3 and not have an ND filter built in, or you can have an FX6 and the ND filter is built in and you don't need to buy a separate ND. Like there's just these different things that you pay more money for that don't actually matter to your skill. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so the next topic. So why some creatives succeed and others don't. And I wanted to touch on this because I think a lot of people fall into, like, I have some friends over the years where people wanted to know why I was doing somewhat, like, quote unquote, why I'm having somewhat success compared to some of my other friends.
It's really painful to admit that you were
Well,
doing
yeah.
well for yourself.
Yeah, well, but what, again, like, it depends, and I don't want to self-label myself as I was successful. But what I mean is, like, I remember over the years, I had one friend that was like, Cameron, how come you're like, doing fine? Like you don't seem to ever struggle. But then I've got like my other friends where like I'm always having to like lend them money or whatever. And I think what it came down to is like you just have to be like really on it and really like not have expectations and kind of have contingencies. And like we were talking the other day about like that status thing, and like I said to you, what is more of a flex? Is it more of a flex to have like nice gear and like work on these like amazing projects and look like you're doing well, or is it more of a flex to be like, yeah, I'm not working on like massive projects, but I choose when to work, whereas you have to work. And it's that thing of, if it's working and maybe you're not on like the biggest and best projects, but if you're not struggling and you're not worrying and it might not look flashy, but it's working, then it's like, who cares? Like, you might be shooting on like a 5-year-old camera, but like, if you're fine, then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Secret to success in this industry, not that it's a secret, is you just have to be willing to show up day in, day out, year on year on year. And if you're still here after 5 years, then you're making it happen.
I like that, man. I like that. The true success is staying in the game.
Yeah, at all costs. Like, there's been times where, work's been so bad, there's no money coming in, and I'm thinking, do I get another job? But I'm still here because I didn't I didn't jack it in. And that's the same with everything in life, right? Whether you're trying to be a professional basketball player or whatever it is, you just keep showing up, you keep practicing, you keep playing. Eventually, you'll get there, wherever that is that you want to get. Unless, you've got to have some talent if you want to be in the NBA, but this is a very different example. But yeah, you've just got to, and I'm just refusing to not show up. And it's the same with this podcast. Like, we'll get there where we want to get to eventually, but it might be 300 episodes, but we know we'll get there because we will get to 300 episodes because we refuse to not show up. So it's just a game of patience. That it's a game of like consistency and patience. And if you've got those two virtues and those assets, then like you're really onto a winner, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I also think a lot of the things that are the best practices are also the most boring, like having an emergency fund and saving this amount of money. Because again, like when you can look at other people, you can see them doing these amazing projects and you can see them having work all the time, but they might also need that. Whereas if you don't have any work, but you're also not in any particular rush to like, oh, I need work this month to pay my bills, you're already kind of You're what there's a saying where it says you're not wanting something is as good as having it, and I think it's the same thing with you might not have work, but at the same time, it doesn't have as much relevance because you're also okay. Like you can be selective on the projects you want to work on, and some again, like you might see someone on Instagram that's working all the time, but they might be like having to break their back in order to bring that money in because they need it, and so
Yeah, because they have to
if
pay for a fancy house or a fancy car or a fancy watch they've financed,
or a
and
new camera or
yeah,
yeah, like they've got a camera that they didn't need, and now it's like oh damn.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just think I wanted to mention that on the podcast because like one of them was mindset as well, and
Well, it's having the
just
ability
not
to
being
choose,
bothered
right?
about it. Yeah,
Is it like ultimate success? Um, ultimate success is basically like having the ability to choose, right?
yeah. Alex and Moses says in a recent video that wealth is the ratio between your income and your expenses. It's not like an actual number. And I thought that was really interesting. Um, yeah, I feel like there was something like a really another point that I was going to talk about. And I think it was just like the expectations thing. Like, did you ever have any expectations when you was like trying to get shoots? Like, I think I just tried my best to get shoots, but I didn't. If I didn't land that shoot, or if someone couldn't pay me for it, it was just like, this is what it is.
I
I can decide if I want to do this or not. Like, shall I do this shoot for free? Shall I not? I never really looked back and blamed anyone for it. I just kind of thought, right, this is the opportunity I've got. Shall I take it? Shall I not? And that's that. And
I have an issue with
no
expectations.
expectations.
I have
Yeah.
an issue with expectations.
Oh yeah.
I place too high expectations on everything. Things need to be perfect. And I had expectations of on myself of what I wanted to achieve as a photographer. Like I wanted
Mm.
billboards with my work on. I wanted to say I shot with big people and big brands, and there were expectations that I did place on myself. And it was
Yeah,
kind
but
of a
are
like,
they the
don't
same as
stop
goals though?
until.
Yeah, okay, I think expectations on yourself and expectations of the industry are kind of
Okay,
almost they're the same thing, but like I think expectations of yourself is quite helpful as
yeah.
well. Um but like did you ever like was you ever offended if like someone didn't pay you like or like you expected yeah, okay, no, not offended, but um like, did you? Oh, I've been doing this for 3 years. I should be on bigger shoots. And it's like, who the fuck says you should be on bigger shoots? Like that. That's like an expectation where, like, what are you talking about? Like, if you just keep going, like those things will come around.
Yeah, the
Um,
journey is the journey, right? Like,
yeah,
and it sounds so
woo
like
woo.
yeah, it is. Well, I think it comes back to um it's lifestyle inflation. So it's you'll see it typically, and you see it a lot in London when you earn more money.
Mm.
So then automatically, like lifestyle inflation goes up. You think, oh, earning more money, need a better car, need a better house. I can rent a better apartment. I can go out for nicer dinners. I can go out with my mates more. I can spend more money on dinners, and the restaurants get better, and the watches get better, and like the cars get better, and the nights out get better, and the clothes get better, and do you know what I mean? So that's a really nasty trap because the real hack is earning more money but still spending the same that you were before. And it's such a, especially when I was in London, and you kind of see it with like people you know of and stuff, and you know, going out for fancy dinners all the time, and they're drinking loads, and they're buying bottles of champagne and this and that because they've earned more money. And I've done it before. I remember when I like 4 or 5 years ago, I earned had a good month, so I was like, fuck it, and I bought like two really expensive coats that I definitely couldn't afford, like really couldn't afford. And I just thought, oh yeah, well I've earned like 6 or 7 grand this month, so that means I can afford it. And you know, what is it like? Who cares spending 400 quid on a coat or whatever it was? And I mean, gobsmacked looking back at it now, but I couldn't afford it. Next month I probably earned 2 grand instead of six, and then you know, before you know it, it's kind of a slippery slope. And the real hack, if you can get this down, is earning more money but spending the same, without a doubt. Like it's the biggest skill and asset. And it's funny because like I'm earning more now, but I've left London. I left London to halve my costs. I wanted to reduce how much I was spending so I could save for my future. So I can save for when I've got kids and I've got a family and I can invest into my future. And, that was like one of the big reasons that I left London. So it's like earn more, spend less. And if you can do that, then you're going to be okay in 5, 10 years' time. But it's so easy to just kind of fall into that category of, oh, I'm earning more, so that means I can spend a little more. And obviously, like within reason, if you know, if you're earning hundreds of thousands a year, then okay, like you can get yourself a bit of a nicer house or a bit of a nicer car. Fine. But it's doing it within reason, right? As long as you're still really happy with how much you're putting away and saving. But it's when you do the lifestyle inflation, but you don't save any more than you did. It's like you could be on 30 grand a year, right? But your lifestyle inflation and your lifestyle cost is only 10 grand a year. So you can pocket 20 grand a year, but you could be on 100 grand a year. But if you're living a wild lifestyle and you're in an apartment that costs 2 or 3 grand a month and you've got a car and you've got this and you've got that, you might only be able to save 20 grand a year, but you're saving the same as the person that's on 30 grand a year. So, but as soon as you say to someone, "Oh, I'm on 100k a year," versus someone that's on 30k a year, you instantly assume that they're more wealthy and they've got more money. It's not always the case. Like the person that's on 30k a year but can save 20 of it is also saving the same amount of money, and they're going to be on their way to 1 million a lot quicker, or the same speed as the person that's on. Do you know what I mean? So, I think just nailing that down, and then it comes to back to why some creatives succeed and others don't. It's little skills like that that make all the difference, because if you can be smart with your money and save it, and you've got a strong emergency fund and a buffer, when those 2 or 3 months come around that are real quiet and they're making you question if you're even still like able to carry on with this career, if you need to get another job, you're sat there cushy because you've managed to save so much money. You've got a really healthy emergency fund that you could do half a year without even working and you'd be fine. And you can, instead of stressing out, tearing your hair out, you can sit there and work on personal projects and figure out how you want to like push your work even further and get your name out there. But instead you're like, right, I need to take on any job possible because I need the money, because you're living paycheck to paycheck, because you've got the car to pay for and the house to pay for, or the expensive apartment, and you're going out with the boys on the weekend and you're all doing rounds that you can't afford, and it gets it can get pretty slippery real quick.
Yeah, I love all that you just mentioned, and I think it comes down to as well the priority. Like if you because earning money from your craft in our industry is so like hit or miss, and so if you're going to prioritize this, then you kind of everything needs to orientate around, if I want to earn money from photo, what's like the best position I can put myself in, and what are the best choices I can make to do that. And so everything you just said, yeah, you rounded up very, very nicely. And I want to repeat what I said earlier about, I think the ultimate flex is, in terms of status, is being able to say, yeah, I work when I want, not because I have to, but because I choose to.
Yeah.
And
Ultimate
that's
freedom, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, you fucking covered everything.
I just went on a bit of a rant there. Locked in for a bit.
Yeah, but it is so important as creatives, because you have like free will, don't you? It's not like where you get paid the same salary every month and you know how much if you spend this, oh, I'll have that back next month and I'll just put it back in the pot. It's like, no. Like you're basically playing a single player NPC game, and
that's a good way of putting it.
It's just full on free will in the creative industry. It's just like, yeah. So I think that's really important, and I don't think people put as much emphasis on it. So I like how much you spoke about that, because this creative, like one of your friends might be able to go out and do stuff, and you want to do that as well. But do you want to do that more than you want to earn money from your camera? Like you doing that might actually make it so that you can't do that shoot next week. Because you can't afford to make it that long or whatever. So you definitely have to be a lot more self-aware if you're trying to make your craft your money earner.
For sure. And I feel like it is, especially, I think it can be easy as a young male as well, feeling like you need to keep up with your mates. So you can have some mates in the city that are earning good money and they're going out for drinks and they're spending this and that and like they're going out for nice dinners and you're invited and you're sat there and you're like, I can't really afford this bill or I can't really, and you can fall into the trap of trying to keep up and show face, but you might be earning half that they're earning, and it's just it can, like I say, it can be a really slippery slope. But I think you just have to. It's delayed gratification, right? And that characteristic shows up so much in all areas of success. I think in areas of discipline, and it's delaying your gratification, showing up now and deciding to spend less and saving more for you're doing future you in 5-10 years time a favor. Future you in 5 years when you decide you want to buy a house and you can actually get the house with your partner that you want to afford, or being like, oh, shit, like I really regret blowing all my cash in London over the last 6-7 years and partying too much. But look, you're entitled to your own, like, life's short, right? You could die when you're 30 and you want to enjoy your life, but it's everyone's each to their own. And like, again, this is not financial advice from me. This is just me speaking on my own personal experiences and the struggles I've had, like, say, buying things that I couldn't afford and being like, shit, and thinking that I've earned loads of money this month, so I had loads of money to play with, but the next 2 months are quiet, so you can screw yourself over. And yeah, man, it's yeah. And now I sit at my desk in the countryside and I'm looked out my window and there are deer in the field opposite my window, and it's just just lovely. I love nature, man. Yeah, should we wrap it up there?
We can do, yeah. I thought that was really good, man. And yeah, I think there's a lot of good points in there for creatives especially, and freelancers, and I don't know, yeah.
Mate, you're getting ready to level up. You're getting ready to step into it again and like start from the bottom again.
Yeah, well, you look back as well, don't you? And you think about what things did you do intentionally. So now I'm stepping back in. It's like, okay, how do I want to do things? Why? Like, what's the threshold for taking on a project versus not taking on a project? Like, there's all these things where there's a lot more intention, and yeah, it just makes you think back to like when you was first doing it. Yeah, interesting. Right. Okay, well, yeah.
If you made it this far, folks, thanks for listening. Please give us a little 5-star review if you enjoyed it, and give us a follow, subscribe to us on Spotify. That really helps with the algorithm. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
And my YouTube channel, Matt. Don't forget to mention my YouTube channel.
And Cameron's YouTube channel. Go check that out and show it some love, folks. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not that kind of guy that shouts himself out, Cameron.
This is our platform, Matt. What the heck are you talking about?
Do what you want.
Okay, cool. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.